This is the Squared Circle Psychobabble, Michael Valenti with Ralph Valenti, and we're going to play a new game here on the Squared Circle Psychobabble called Booker Man. And no, I'm not talking about Booker T. I'm talking about when Brian Pillman called Kevin Sullivan Booker Man because he was the Booker in WCW. So what we do is we're going to create our own storylines like we are Bookers in WWE with some of the top storylines. And obviously the one that is the top storyline is the main event of SummerSlam this year, and that is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. And this has been a great story so far with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen on the Go Home show. So I told Ralph yesterday or a couple days ago to start writing how you would write the Go Home show and how the main event, and if you think there should be an aftermath, write the aftermath of the show. And I'll do the same thing. And I could tell you obviously did your homework. You obviously wrote down notes. You got everything scripted there. You got like Vince Russo notes.
Play by play.
Yeah. Well, I put it all in here. I don't need notes like that. I can put it all in my head here. So
that's why your story's gonna suck.
But... Oh no, trust me, it's not. But we flipped the coin before the show started, and I won the coin toss, so I elected to go first because I think that's how good my storyline's going to be. So I'm gonna start from the Go Home show of Monday Night Raw, going into SummerSlam. So we'll start off with a promo by Roman Reigns doing another one of these. Oh, Brock Lesnar is here tonight. He decided to show up tonight. If I see him, I'm beating his ass, and I'm becoming my bitch. Okay? You know, the only way Roman Reigns could cut a good promo is if he puts the word bitch in it.
Right.
Meanwhile, in the back, Renee Young, who is now commentating tonight, she will be interviewing Brock Lesnar, interviewing Paul Heyman. And that will be coming up at the 9 o'clock hour of Monday Night Raw. And it's a follow-up interview to what happened the previous night. And if those don't know, they show the exclusive video of Paul Heyman's interview where he says, unless, and walks off. So she's going to ask him again, what did you mean by unless? And Paul Heyman's just going to walk away. No comment. No comment. Throughout the night, we wonder if Brock Lesnar's here, if Brock Lesnar's going to come out, and Roman Reigns is going to be in the main event of Monday Night Raw, calling him out again. Meanwhile, during this show, and this is important, there is a handicap match. And the handicap match is Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens and Jinder Mahal. Now, the previous week we know that Jinder Mahal won by disqualification. The week before that, he won by countout. Those are two ways that Braun Strowman can lose the Money in the Bank contract at SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. So he hasn't lost by a pinfall yet. So during that match, Kevin Owens tries to distract Braun Strowman, and by doing that, Jinder Mahal tries the roll-up. But in an effort to do that, Strowman holds onto the ropes. Jinder falls on his butt. Strowman picks him up, power slam, 1, 2, 3.
Right.
While the pin is happening, Kevin Owens takes the Money in the Bank briefcase and runs away. Strowman chases him. They're gone. That's the end of the show for them. Main event comes, and Roman Reigns is like, I'm here to see Brock Lesnar. I want to beat his ass. He's becoming my bitch tonight. I'm not waiting for SummerSlam. Crowd's going nuts. Like pro Roman Reigns cheering somehow. I mean, the last 2 weeks they've been really good. So Paul Heyman comes out, and he's got that red face. He's crying. He's same thing as last week. He's like
flustered,
very flustered. And he goes, Roman, for the life of you, do not call him out. This is not the Brock Lesnar you saw at WrestleMania. This is not the Brock Lesnar you saw at the Greatest Royal Rumble. This is not the Brock Lesnar you saw even 3 weeks ago. He has become more violent. He has become more vicious. And I am even staying away from him. I do not want to deal with him. All of a sudden, Triple H comes out. And Triple H says, Brock Lesnar better come out here and face Roman Reigns.
Face to face.
Face to face. So, Brock Lesnar, from the crowd, comes up, F5s Roman Reigns. Stands over him, holds the belt up, boo, boo, boo. That is the end of Monday Night Raw. Okay? Now we get to SummerSlam. And before the main event, Brock Lesnar walks into Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, no referees around, but he tries to attack Brock Lesnar, and they pull apart. They get the mid cards, everybody that isn't involved. They pull apart, do a pull apart brawl, and everyone's like, Braun, just go do your match. Go do your match. And that's the next match. Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens. The end of the match is screwy. Jinder Mahal tries to interfere, attacks Braun Strowman with a chair shot, knocks him out. Kevin Owens sneaks a victory and wins the Money in the Bank contract. Okay? Now, at the end of SummerSlam, we're at the main event. Brock Lesnar against Roman Reigns. Lesnar is down. And Roman is ready for the spear. He does the hoo-ah, ready for the spear, okay? As he's going for the spear, all of a sudden, Paul Heyman comes in and gives him a chair shot. Knocks him out while the ref is down. So the ref is knocked out at some point, and Roman has to get the chair shot. Lesnar gets pulled on to Roman from Paul Heyman. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar wins at SummerSlam. And that is the end of the show.
Okay.
So we're going on to Monday. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon open up Monday Night Raw. And they say, we are not having a champion go on for 3 more months. So either you defend this title tonight or you're being stripped of it. And it will be against Roman Reigns. So we're going to have a SummerSlam rematch. And to make sure that both competitors are there, Triple H will be the special guest referee for this match. There will be no interference whatsoever. Paul Heyman is banned from ringside. Everyone's banned from ringside. It's only those two and Triple H. They're the only ones that could be there. Okay? So, same thing happens. Roman Reigns is ready for the spear. And this time he hits the spear on Lesnar. 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns is the new Universal Champion. Triple H raises his hand, points him out. Vince McMahon comes out. And Vince McMahon comes out, raises Roman Reigns' hand, and points him as, this is the guy. This is the coronation of Roman Reigns. Then, Triple H pedigrees Roman Reigns. And he waves like this. He's waving. I have my hands waving for like a referee or something. All of a sudden, Kevin Owens comes out and pins Roman Reigns. 1, 2, 3. Your new Universal Champion is Kevin Owens. Okay. And that's how you would book the main event and the aftermath.
Right. Not bad. My take is a little bit different, but mind you, everything I'm about to offer you is based in fiction. None of this is fact, right?
Okay.
So that's important. So there's 3 things that I think are assumed going into SummerSlam here, and it's really got both storylines blended together. So one, I think the one thing that's assumed is that Natalya Neidhart is going to turn on Ronda Rousey at some point.
Okay.
At least that's what a large majority of the internet feels. So You've got that. The other thing, which is very obvious, I think to this point, is they're building tension between Paul Heyman and Brock. So I think the other thing and the other element to the story is that people believe that Paul Heyman is going to turn on Brock and join sides or have him be affiliated with Roman Reigns at some point. The third thing that is assumed is that Brock Lesnar is going to go back to the UFC. So keeping all those 3 things in mind you, this is all based in fiction. None of this is fact.
Right.
So this is what I'm offering to you. So Raw opens. We have Paul Heyman, who is now met by Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle asks him, where's Brock Lesnar? I haven't seen him all night. Distraught, like you mentioned, red in the face. Paul Heyman says, I haven't talked to him. He won't return my calls. Much of the same thing that you heard at the sit-down interview. Have not talked to Brock Lesnar. Kurt Angle reminds him that he's contractually obligated to appear on Raw. Not only does he have to appear on Raw, he has to be in the ring on Raw to have some type of promotion with Roman Reigns at some point throughout the night. And he also reminds Paul Heyman that his job is on the line. So if he cannot get his client into the ring on Monday night, Brock Lesnar not only will be stripped of the Universal title, but Paul Heyman's going to be fired. So now you've got pressure on Brock to show up because he'll be stripped of the belt. And Paul Heyman, if he does not get his client to show up and go into the ring, well, he's going to be out of a job. And we know the one thing that Paul is most concerned about, at least to this point, is his job, right? So going throughout the show, eventually Brock Lesnar shows up. You get much of the same thing. He's sitting in the back. Paul Heyman is pleading with him, please go out to the ring. Please go out to the ring. My job is on the line. Brock, nope, not doing it. Not going to the ring. Doesn't want to. Can't force him to because he's Brock Lesnar. He's a massive guy. Paul Heyman is not going to be able to force Brock Lesnar to do much of anything, right? So you've got that. Eventually, more towards the end of the show, Roman Reigns goes out there, cuts a promo similar to the one that you were mentioning, and he says, the usual list of insults that you'd expect from Roman about Brock Lesnar. He's a coward. He's a part-time champion. He doesn't respect the business. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. And then he says the one thing that, like you mentioned, he also always says, at SummerSlam, he's going to make Brock Lesnar his bitch. Mm-hmm. Now, they cut back to the backstage area where you still see Paul Heyman with Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman's flustered at this point. And he stands up and he looks at Brock and he says, I never thought I'd see the day where Brock Lesnar was called out by another man and he didn't oblige him. And then he starts to go through all of his accolades and all of his accomplishments. And he says, you're the former NCAA champion, the former heavyweight champion of the UFC. You're the 21-1 to the streak, the former baddest man or the baddest man on the planet, and the reigning defending Universal Champion. And right now, if you don't go out there, you do look like Roman Reigns' bitch. Now Brock is pissed. He gets in Paul's face, pushes him to the side, makes his way, presumably, to the ring. They cut to commercial. When they come back from commercial, you've got Kurt Angle in the ring with tons of security, not the wrestlers, because I hate when they do that, actual security. So you've got the security separating Brock if he was to come out, and Roman Reigns behind him with Kurt Angle. Brock's music hits. He actually comes out, but he's a little hesitant to get into the ring. So he goes around the ring twice just to build suspense, stares into the ring, gets up on the apron. No music. Braun Strowman comes out from behind him, beats the crap out of him, lays him out. Eventually they all get pulled apart, but Brock's visibly been beaten up. And even if you wanted to get him bloodied, I don't know if they'll allow that, but it has to be to the point where Brock's been visibly hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So now you've got Paul Heyman, who put him in this situation because he begged him to go out there because his job was on the line. And if he didn't go out there to face Roman Reigns, he'd look like a bitch, all of that stuff. So you've got the tension between those two. Brock grabs him and he says, Paul, if I don't walk out the Universal Champion at SummerSlam, you won't have to worry about Kurt Angle firing you. I'm going to fire you. So you will no longer be my advocate. And that's the end of that whole thing between Brock and Roman. And mind you, like I said, this is based in fiction. None of this is factual, so this is my take on it. Mm-hmm. So you go to SummerSlam. And the two biggest matches, I think, going into this are going to be the Ronda Rousey match and the Brock Lesnar match. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with both of those. So the way I would do this is this. Ronda Rousey, with going into too much detail, has to win the Women's Championship in order for this storyline to work out. So Ronda wins, and presumably when she's in the ring with Natty raises her hand, and you think this is the moment where Natalya is going to turn on her. Mm-hmm. In reality, Ronda Rousey judo throws her, flips her over. The crowd's stunned, they're shocked. This is where Ronda is actually going to be turning heel for the first time in her run with the WWE. Uh-huh. Natalya looks up at her shocked. She gets back up, shaken, and she slams her again, puts her in the armbar, takes the belt, snarky look on her face, really eating it up now, not playing to the crowd. You see a very different side of Ronda Rousey than the one that I explained last week where she's smiling and waving, makes her way to the back. That's the end of Ronda for the night, but at least at this point, she's the champion of the women's division. Now you've got Brock versus Roman. What I would do with this match is the same thing that they did with John Cena several years ago. Suplex City, match starts, 16 German suplexes, beat the ever-loving crap out of Roman Reigns, pins him, F5s him, pins him 1, 2, 3. You've established Brock Lesnar as an absolute dominant force and the monster that he's supposed to be. The only problem with that is you have to get the belt off him, especially if he's going to go to the UFC for several months now, right? Mm-hmm. So Strowman comes out. Strowman cannot cash in. Now, assuming Strowman wins his match, which he would in order for this story to work, Strowman comes out to cash in. Brock Lesnar is open for the fight. You know, he's open to the idea of this because he's just ran through Roman Reigns, and you've established him as this monster, unbeatable force that he's supposed to be. and Strowman and him go one-on-one. Strowman beats him. He pins him. And now remember, Brock told Heyman that if he did not walk out the Universal Champion, then he's going to be fired as his advocate. So now, Paul Heyman still might be under contract with the WWE, but he is no longer the advocate for Brock Lesnar, which he has been for roughly 6 years now, right? So you've done three things. You've established Brock Lesnar as a monster. You've put Braun Strowman over by beating him, and because Brock beat Roman in the fashion that he did, that's good for Braun Strowman's character going forward. You have Paul Heyman, who is no longer the advocate for Brock, and he's more or less a free agent to lend his services to anybody. And you have Ronda Rousey, who's the champion. Next night on Raw, they say that Paul Heyman at some point throughout the night is going to come out and address the WWE Universe for what his future holds and what happened with Brock Lesnar and all of that stuff. He goes out to the ring, and he says that, for the first time in 6 years, I'm not the advocate for Brock Lesnar. He's visibly upset. Same thing, red face. The same thing that Paul Heyman is good at. He's able to look sympathetic, but in a weaselly way, right? And he suddenly turns and he says, as they say, when one door closes, another door opens. Before I came to Raw today, I received a call, and I received an offer from an individual, an offer that I couldn't refuse. This person was reaching out to me because they wanted my services, and they wanted me to represent them going forward. So I give to you my newest client, the reigning, defending women's champion of the WWE, Ronda Rousey. Ronda comes out. You have Paul Heyman, who is now representing Ronda Rousey, and he cuts an absolutely epic promo about what's in store for the women's roster going forward, and he can carry her as the top women's heel in the wrestling industry until WrestleMania, where she presumably will face Charlotte Flair or Asuka or somebody like that, and that will be your first women's WrestleMania main event. And that, my friend, is one of the better storylines that you will ever see in wrestling history.
As Brian Pillman said, greatly, I respect you, Booker, man. What do you think? Comment below what you would book or how you would book the main event of SummerSlam 2018. Click the eye above my head and vote. Who had the better story? Myself or my brother? And honestly, this is going to be probably a one-sided victory. It could either be one-sided for me. I don't know. I think a lot of Kevin Owens marks are out there that could say that I have won this, but only time will tell.